had led to this extraordinary day 75 years ago. We'll take you through the key events from D-Day to VE Day next. 7:60, just LBC News headlines, then Holly Harris.
The government's warned we must stick to lockdown rules this bank holiday weekend with warm weather forecast. A rise in online purchases has failed to offset a huge 30% drop in retail income during the coronavirus lockdown. The nation will celebrate the 75th anniversary of VE Day at home today, as all public events have been cancelled. The weather, a mix of sunny spells and showers, highs of 23 Celsius.
LBC Travel, I'm Katie Tyler. The M25 is blocked clockwise at junction 8 for Reigate because of an accident. There are queues on the approach from junction 7 for the M23. In Chingford, the traffic lights on Chingford Mount Road aren't working at Rolls Park Avenue after an accident yesterday. And in the centre of town, the A40 is closed westbound between Shaftesbury Avenue and Earnshaw Street. That's for resurfacing work. The Circle Line remains suspended and National Rail services are running to a reduced timetable, but please only travel if your journey is essential.
LBC.
At Morrison's, discover our new summer barbecue and steak bars with British rump and fillet steak half price. Our butchers will cut your steak to order just the way you like it, ready for you to cook at home. British rump and fillet steak, both half price. Morrison's, feeding the nation. It's more than our job. Selected stores, subject to availability, excludes online.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
At Dell, when we created the new XPS 13 laptop, we treated every little piece like it was everything. We crafted every part as if it were the most important thing we'd ever made. The result? Something you'll have to see to believe. Pity this is radio. See the new award-winning Dell XPS 13 at dell.co.uk. Every little thing is everything.
This is a message from the government about the emergency measures to support the economy during the period of disruption caused by the coronavirus. To help you, your business and your workers affected, you can apply for cash grants, business rate holidays, statutory sick pay relief packages, as well as the coronavirus job retention and self-employment income support schemes. For information, go to gov.uk/business-support now.
When you can't even predict what next week will bring, why tie yourself to a 12-month business insurance policy? Give your business the flexibility it needs right now with Digital Risks Online. Fully customized cover that you can add to as your business grows or change if your business evolves without any penalties. Digital Risks, award-winning pay-by-the-month business insurance for modern, fast-changing times. Get your online quote in minutes at digitalrisks.co.uk. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, accounting software for small businesses that works anywhere you do.
19 minutes after 7 on Friday, 8th May. Yes, it is a bank holiday, and if you think, oh, hang on a second, should I be going to work? No, it is a bank holiday, but it is such a momentous day, not least because of coronavirus, but I might have possibly considered staying under the duvet for that, but no, the opportunity to broadcast is an absolute privilege to take you through the 75th anniversary of VE Day victory in Europe, and more on that in a moment. Take you through the front pages, most of which reflect, of course, aspects of VE Day as well. But to give you back to the coronavirus story, the latest figures for the number of cases worldwide, and it's just under 4 million at 3,917,564. If we have a lift similar that we saw yesterday, we'll be over 4 million, by the way, tomorrow. Deaths, 270,720. To the United Kingdom, and again, condolences if this touches you personally. The number of cases now, 206,715, of whom sadly succumbing to those symptoms, 30,615. And again, I appreciate this, you've just lost someone, but that is a relatively low lift yesterday, 539. On the testing target, 86,583, which is far better than previous days this week. Still 13,000 short of that 100,000 target that Matt Hancock spoke of, which calls into question Prime Minister Boris Johnson's assertion that we'll be at 200,000 tests per day soon. Front pages of the newspapers, so many of them, reflect various Mirror, A Day of Hope, and they obviously mirror, there we go, the mirroring what we saw 75 years ago with A Day of Hope, of course, here as well. Same real theme for the Daily Express. Keep smiling through, and again a picture of a street party, a very poignant picture actually, of someone, a sergeant in the RAF. I know he's a sergeant because of the stripes, and I know it's RAF because of the great jacket that he's wearing, great coat that he's wearing. So he's coming back and he's embracing his wife and little baby boy, and the street seem to be coming out to wave him home, so that's all very positive. The Sun's angry, give it back. This is Just Giving, told to give back the £308,000 they've taken from Captain Tom Moore's fundraising heroics. He's made £39 million. I'm privileged to say I will be speaking with him later in the show. The Daily Telegraph, I think our political editor Theo Usher referenced this earlier. Sir Keir Starmer, we owe it to the VE Day generation to protect them from virus in care homes. The Eye looks ahead to Sunday's instruction, possibly for Monday, on your bike. Millions urged to cycle to work and stay off trains and buses in plan to ease lockdown. I remind you, not only will you hear it live here on Sunday on LBC, you'll have full analysis as well with my colleagues, and we'll be all over it like a rash, of course, on Monday as to what it means. The Times has a poignant front page of a Piper on the White Cliffs of Dover, and if I'm right, that's a Spitfire and a Hurricane flying over him. We'll meet again. The Daily Star, very powerful front page they have there. Cheers to our heroes, and they urge everyone at 3 p.m. today, raise a glass and celebrate VE Day. I would suggest 3 p.m. is probably quite a good time actually to do that. The Daily Mail has nothing to do with all this at home, but a powerful story. Prince Andrew has been sued for £6.7 million over ski chalet debt. So as we all recall what his relatives did, what his grandmother did, of course, I'm so sorry, his mother, I do apologise, his mother did, and indeed his father did during the war. Unfortunately, the virtues do not necessarily seem to have passed down to that particular son, do they? And the Financial Times tells us that Britain is on the work of the worst recession since the Great Frost of 1709. And when I tell you, and I did say I'd give you some of the economic indicators, that the lockdown we are enduring now will bring about a 35% hit to GDP in this quarter, which will probably even off at 14% hit, which the great financial crash of 12 years ago came in at 8%. So that gives you an idea. There's no point giving you numbers if you don't give context. 35%, what does that mean? 35% is absolutely appalling. It then flattens out, hopefully, to 13, which is getting on almost double what the great financial crash of over 10 years was ago. And we're 10% lift in unemployment, and we've already borrowed an additional £271 billion, which is double the annual budget of the health service. That's how much we're in debt already. And of course, those who are elderly, those who are elderly and who are not fit, those who are vulnerable need to be protected. But for the love of God, seeing as, fortunately, 40 and below, you have a vanishingly thin chance of contracting, let alone having serious issues from the disease, why, with all the necessary caveats in place, why can't some of those be allowed back to work on Monday? What's the sticking point? Your views in a moment. Now, I'm here on a public holiday because today, or bank holiday, because today marks the 75th anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe, with the royal family leading tributes as the country stays, of course, in lockdown. Events are taking place all day. Public gatherings have been cancelled. Today marks the day in 1945 when Prime Minister Winston Churchill announced the war in Europe had come to an end after surrender from Nazi Germany. We asked leading military historian Andrew Robertshaw to take us through the key moments from June the 6th, 1944, when the invasion took place, to May the 8th, 1945. This day, 75 years ago.
The Allies opened the second front with the landings in Normandy, France, on D-Day, 6th of June 1944. Richard Llewellyn, who went to sea with the Royal Navy at just 17, recalls what he remembers most from D-Day.
There was hundreds of bombers overhead, there were all the naval ships were spread out, and there were rocket landing craft close inshore. All of them were dropping bombs, firing shell, whatever. And the one main memories of D-Day was the noise. It was absolutely shattering.
Despite Nazis using resources of many occupied nations combined with terror and repression, the war machine, masterminded from Berlin, was faltering by the summer of 1944. It now faced a war on multiple fronts and was being bombed day and night by the Allied air forces. Military and civilian casualties were growing rapidly, and Nazi Germany could not compete with the economic and military might of the United States. August, American, British and Canadian troops, with almost complete air supremacy, were able to launch a devastating assault on Nazi forces in Normandy. Despite a fierce Nazi counterattack, the entire German 7th Army was surrounded in the Falaise pocket, and only some of its troops were able to escape across the Seine and towards Germany. While D-Day was significant, the result of the invasion remained in doubt for many months. The first Nazi secret weapon, the V1, was fired at London just 6 days after D-Day, and the larger V2 rockets began hitting the city in September. Paris was liberated on the 19th of August, and American troops under General Patton advanced east, while forces under the command of General Montgomery headed for the Belgian-Dutch border, following the Nazi retreat. This meant that operations in the west stalled in the mud. At Christmas, Hitler launched his final offensive, an attempt to split US and British troops and potentially recapture the vital port of Antwerp. What followed was the Battle of the Bulge, during which American troops initially suffered heavy casualties but held on until relief came. The Nazi offensive failed, and the opportunity to deliver a final reverse to the Allies had gone. The conquest of Poland revealed the horrors of the Nazi concentration camps, such as Auschwitz. This stiffened the resolve of troops to crush the Nazi regime. US Army veteran Harry Mogan recalls his first encounter with Nazi atrocities.
And you saw women on the floor, on wooden pallets. When I say women, you saw skeletons. Rags hanging on them, no shoes, bones instead of faces. And the stench was so horrible. It's hard to describe.
Meeting at Yalta in Ukraine, Joseph Stalin, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, Prime Minister Winston Churchill agreed the basis of a post-war Europe. Critically, they concluded that Nazi Germany could not be given the opportunity to negotiate a surrender. On the 23rd of March, in a combined airborne and amphibious assault, the route to Berlin was now open, but the costly delays of the British and American forces meant that Berlin was now facing the steamroller of Soviet troops. By late April, 2 Soviet armies surrounded the city, and the Nazi defences collapsed. Hitler committed suicide on the 30th of April, and the city surrendered on the 2nd of May. With British troops on the Baltic coast and Americans in contact with Soviet forces in the River Elbe, cutting Nazi Germany in two, the end of the war was inevitable. The surrender of Nazi Germany to the Allies occurred on the 7th of May 1945, and the following day was declared VE, Victory in Europe Day.
Thanks to military historian Andrew Robertshaw taking us through those key moments from landing in Europe to the success of VE Day. And I know, and I do know, because again I have someone who was involved in this, that we will reflect that VJ Day, victory in Japan, was still to come, and sadly there was many more months of fighting and more lives lost. We will reflect that. We'll also remember you're hearing from Elizabeth II, of course, tonight at 9, again mirroring in a way what we heard from her father all those years ago, King George VI.
Today we give thanks to God for a great deliverance. Germany, the enemy who drove all Europe into war, has been finally overcome.
King George VI speaking there. Right, we want to hear your stories. Eventually, let's do it the other side of the news. You want to tell you, I think you were in London during World War II, so I'd really want to hear your memories of that extraordinary day 75 years ago. So, providing you don't have to go anywhere, let's do it the other side of the news, when we'll also be looking at how that, coming back to coronavirus, how that tracking app is working down on the Isle of Wight, and sadly some bad news. If your phone is older than 3 years, and many of your phones would be older than 3 years, let's be honest about it, it would appear it's not going to work. And more on that front page is Britain on the brink of the worst recession since the Great Frost of 1709. David Buick, our financial commentator, was reporting then, and he'll join us after the news. It's 7:30. You're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LPC. News time, Holly Harris.
Ministers have warned the public should continue to obey the social distancing rules this bank holiday weekend, despite sunny weather forecast in some areas. It comes after the Welsh and Scottish governments accuse Number 10 of sending mixed messages. Wales is due to announce its plans later today. Scotland's lockdown's already been formally extended, and the Northern Ireland executive said there's no headroom yet to ease the rules. A rise in online purchases has failed to offset a large loss of retail income during the coronavirus pandemic. Figures showed total like-for-like sales were down by nearly 30% last month compared to April 2019. Prince Charles will lead the nation in a 2-minute silence at 11 this morning to mark the 75th anniversary of VE Day. The Second World War in Europe officially came to an end 3/4 of a century ago in 1945. The weather, most parts of the UK will see sunny spells and showers through the day. The showers heavy and thundery at times, staying fine and dry in southern England, a high of 23 Celsius.
From civil engineers to the armed forces, from prison staff to the factory workers, we at LBC want to thank all the key workers during this time.
I'd like to say a massive thank you to every NHS worker and every key worker more broadly as well, doing such an amazing job in such difficult circumstances.
Huge thanks to all the amazing carers who look after my 95-year-old gran at home every day.
Huge thank you to every member of staff in the NHS. We are so grateful for the hard work and dedication you are putting in, and we are so proud.
LBC sends our thanks to all of the key workers. Thank you.
Across the nation, we've been discovering loads of new ways to get moving around the home. Why not join in? Join the lounge lunging, 1-2 punching, and the star jumping while the spaghetti's on the hob. Don't let that water boil over. Join the impromptu dance parties happening over the phone, and the just 5 more minutes of playing astronauts and elephants in the garden. Please. Join the chair dips, the leg lifts, and the just shaking things out for a bit, happening all across the country. Join the movement to see how you can get moving, so stay in, work out.
When your tenants have a burst pipe, superheroes crashing through the wall isn't going to help anyone. With Direct Line landlord emergency added to your policy, we're on it to send a rather super plumber within 4 hours and guarantee they'll use the doorbell. We can also assemble locksmiths, glaziers, electricians and drainage engineers. Search Direct Line landlord emergency. We're on it.